Good morning. Again. How you doing? So, Happy New Year to all of you officially. I'm hoping that you had a Merry Christmas and that your New Year is doing all those New Year-y things. That it brings you hope and inspiration. And as I was sitting here thinking about this sermon that is titled Old Junk, super excited title for you guys from you. Yes! Old Junk. Can't wait to hear where this goes, Pastor Paul. I was thinking that about 3/4 of the pastors in the United States probably are giving New Year's resolution sermons today. I started thinking about New Year's resolutions and how cliche they seem to be and how they don't ever seem to be held on to, and that we all seem to have that same story that we hear. And every pastor stands up here and goes, something about New Year's resolutions and we won't keep them and then we'll, whatever it is. And I started wondering about them and wondering if it's worth really beating ourselves up over all this stuff every year. I started thinking about the fact that generally, those of you who make New Year's resolutions, or those of you who are too cool for resolutions like me, too lazy for resolutions, but you still make them even though you claim you don't, and then you still fail the thing you didn't claim you did. We just feel ugh. Is that the way to start out the new year? And then I thought of the premise of it. The whole premise of the New Year's resolution is to look at last year and say, here's all the garbage from last year that I wish wasn't me, and I'm going to make it better by doing this. So all of last year is, I was garbage. Now I'm going to be not garbage. And it just seems mean to ourselves. So stop doing it. Here's where I'm going to go today, which is kind of weird. I want to pose a question to you. What if all the junk, all the stuff from last year, or even the year before, all the stuff that you've been holding on to, that you wish you could get rid of, that you just were like, oh, I wish that never happened in my life. You wish was trash. That you wish you could throw away. That you wish you literally could say, that's not my life. That never happened to me. I wish it never happened. If it was out of your control, if it's stuff that you did out of your own stupidity, I'm good at those kind of things, that you just, like, that's not me. I don't, erase it. What if that stuff was really important? What if that horrible, awful junk that you wish you could throw away was actually really, really important? Think about that for a second. Maybe you can think of something from this year that you wish you could throw away. Why would I stand up here and say it's an important thing for something? And now while you're thinking about it, I'm going to pull the e-brake and do a 180. Okay? We're going to go somewhere else for a second. Are you with me? No, you told us to go think about something. Okay. This is a raise your hand question. How many of you have a junk drawer? A junk drawer. Look at the hands. Now, some of you raise your hand like this one. Junk drawer? Because you're on my team. You're on team junk drawer. Some of you were like, yes, we have a junk drawer. Some of you were like, I would love to show you my junk drawer because it's the prettiest junk drawer that you've ever seen. It would probably freak some of us out how clean your junk drawer is. But most of you have a junk drawer. I love junk drawers. Why do I love junk drawers? I've had one my whole life. In fact, you could really argue that much of my life is a junk drawer. That under my bed was an extra junk drawer. That in the tool areas where I keep things in the garage, junk. In drawers. In our farmhouse growing up, we had this big double kitchen sink, and there's one big room with a dining table in the kitchen, and where normal people keep silverware, we had a junk drawer. And it was right here next to the sink. And I can still picture things in it like a little plastic stapler that never had staples in it, the little short one. And all the kids, this really did exist at one point, phones used to have cords on them. And do you remember the coily phone cord that would stretch really far so you could go lock yourself in a room, but the phone was in the other room and you could close the door on it? We had an extra one of those because you need one of those in there. And random coins from Canada and tokens to theme parks that I don't think we ever went to. I don't know where they came from. There's tokens in there. And just so many other things. And why do I like them? Because I have hope for the junk drawer. Oh, you things in there that other people have given up on that want to throw you away. Like, one day there will be a place where you like all these keys that we had in there. They're just random keys. Some of them look like they came from a Scooby-Doo mystery because we had an old house with skeleton doors. So literally those weird keys. And then just rusty other keys. One day, one of the many sheds on our property or barn was going to have this trunk in it. And it had a lock, and one of the keys is going, I can open the magic that is in there. Use me. This is what I've been waiting for. And we would just find it, and it would open, and there'd be something cool in there. Or even better, again, kids, reference your parents in this one. Do you remember C-cell batteries? Because for Christmas, there was always something that required C-cell batteries. Young people, if you've never seen a C-cell battery before, it's like a AA battery, only really big and heavy, and it dies in about 5 minutes, and it costs $1,000. You get Christmas, and the kid opens the present, and it's this thing that requires what you thought was 4 C-cell batteries. And you have the giant, you remember that thing, a giant plastic package of 4 batteries, and it takes 5 batteries. Why would something take 5 C-cell batteries? And now someone's crying, it's 5, and you run to the junk drawer, and there is a 79% depleted C-cell battery that's got enough juice to get you through Christmas morning. Junk drawers are hopeful. There's things in there that can change and become something better. In fact, I have a junk drawer story. I had a junk drawer in my room. In fact, there was actually a series of them, 3 of them. They were on the back side of my bed on this little thing my bed sat on. And there was specific stuff in there. And I had taken mental inventory of my junk drawer before I left for college. I knew what was in there. It was all weird things, like my first car stereo that for some reason I might need to put back in my car that I don't have anymore. But it was there. And there was stuff in there. And one day, me and my friends were at school at OU in Athens, and we were sitting there, and we must have been watching some movie with, you remember when those cars would go through town with the horns on the top of it, and they would announce things like vote for Steve, and like, you know what I'm talking about? And we thought, wouldn't it be awesome if we could just proclaim whatever we wanted? And so, we came home, it just happened in my head. I was like, oh, the thing in the drawer will do the thing. And in my junk drawer was this box about this big. It was a hearing device that I had taken from my grandmother who didn't use it anymore. Not a hearing aid, a hearing device. It was a box that you would plug headphones into and it would amplify sound. So using my MacGyver skills, I thought, I have one of those loud, annoying stereos that now I roll my eyes at the kids who have them, but I used to shake everybody's windows out when I was in high school and college. If I can take the cassette adapter that has the cord that comes out and plugs into a CD player, yes, some of you still nodding with me, and plug this into the hearing aid, I can speak into it, and it will make sound out of my car, and we can proclaim whatever we want. So I drive home to my house on the weekend with just excitement. And I go to my bed, and I slide across the bed like I had done in my high school days, and I pull the junk drawers open, and they are eerily clean. What has happened? And I yell for my mom, and I say, Mom, where's my junk? She says, oh, I thought that was a bunch of wasted junk. You haven't looked at it in 5 years. She was, I cleaned it literally 2 weeks ago and threw everything away. No! Do you realize that hearing device has waited its entire life for this moment? And you just took the glory from it by throwing it away. Why? Why would you do that? No, there's good news to the story. Because the hearing device looked like something important that Grandma would still want, Mom saved it. So, the happy ending is that we took the device back down to OU after I explained that Grandma didn't want the hearing device, plugged it into the cassette adapter, it did work. We proclaimed whatever we wanted to the people of Ohio University streets, and they didn't care, and it got really old after like 15 minutes. And we never did it again, but it was still exciting in the moment. So why did you just spend 10 minutes explaining this to us? Because what if, people, the junk in your life, the stuff that you wish was never there, that you were hoping that my mom would throw out, that she would reach into your brain and go, ew, you don't want that anymore. I can't believe you did that. Ooh, that was part of your life. She threw it. What if that junk is really awesome stuff, waiting for just the right combination of weird things to happen to be amazing? Wait a minute, that seems a little bit too hard to follow. You just said junk, like scary junk, like stuff I'm embarrassed of, stuff I would never want anyone to know about my life. It could be amazing. Not following you, Paul. Well, let's jump to the Bible. There's a guy named Peter. If you've been even not around church, you've probably heard of Peter. Sometimes referred to as Saint Peter. Peter was a disciple. Many people would say he was the first disciple. Jesus called him pretty much right away. A little background on Peter. Peter was a fisherman. Okay, the shepherd's fisherman. I've heard Bible stories before. Have you ever thought about what a fisherman job means? It's not a cool job. If you were a fisherman in Peter's time, that meant that you likely were leftovers. You were like, oh, I want to be that. Like when you were a little kid, you didn't grow up going, I'm going to be a fisherman when I grow up. You just said, I'm going to be an astronaut or a doctor or something. You know, back in his day, they're like, I'm going to be a teacher or a Pharisee. I'm going to be able to, people are going to think I'm important. And that's what they wanted to be. And then it was like, no, you're not good enough. No, you're not this. No, you don't have a connection to that. No, your dad wasn't this, so you can't learn to be that. Until finally, you got to smell like fish all day long, work really weird hours, be treated like you were nobody, and make very little money. That was what he got to be. He felt very unworthy. When Jesus actually called him, he felt like he shouldn't even talk to him because he wasn't worthy enough to be talking to such an important man. He said that out loud. He's like, I'm not worthy of being around you. You're talking to me. Fishermen were dirty. They probably were like manly men, like spit, swearing, like those kind of dudes. And yet Jesus picked this guy up, and you have to think Peter was probably embarrassed of that jump in his life. He kind of wished he'd come from someplace cooler. That when Jesus and the disciples would go from place to place and meet with people, and they would come up to Jesus, go, it's Jesus. Peter would probably think, please don't ask me what I was. Please don't ask where I came from. Can you relate? Anybody have anything like that in their life that they're like, yeah, I wish I had a cooler story about who I was. I'm kind of embarrassed of where I came from or what I was like. But Jesus picked him right away. And you see, Peter kept piling up the junk. Even right away, little stuff. Like, Jesus took him in a boat. He's like, hey, drop the net over here. And Peter says to the Son of God, yeah, it doesn't work, God. We tried all night long. Just drop the net. Like, Peter told God no, like, multiple times. Like, I got this. Trust me. And he's like, no, I'm Jesus, Son of God, miracle guy. You're not going to trust me on this one. Peter was the guy that jumped out of the boat and walked on water. But he's also the guy who we all know freaked out midway through and started sinking because he lost faith. That's what he's remembered for. And the one thing that almost all of us remember Peter for is that Peter, who had stood by Jesus' side, who had seen him perform miracles on the day that Jesus needed him most, he turned his back on Jesus 3 times and denied he even knew him. Do you think he wishes he could erase that from his life? Do you think he wished multiple times that wasn't really him? That he could go, that's not me. That's not part of my life. My New Year's resolution is to forget that ever happened. But Jesus made a point of selecting Peter. Maybe he picked him because he knew he was a dirty guy who wasn't afraid to literally and figuratively get his hands dirty and do some work. He didn't think he was better than anybody else. Maybe he picked him knowing the mistakes he would make. Because one of the interesting things is, people don't like to hear about how to be good from people who are perfect. It's a lot easier to say, yeah, well, you don't know what it's like to be me. And then somebody go, yeah, you're right, I don't. Than to hear that somebody else had it as bad as you did, or worse. And yet somehow Jesus still loves them. And this same Peter who did all this stuff, when Jesus came back, Jesus went to him, grabbed him and said, I still love you. You're going to be the foundation of my church. And he called him the rock of the church. Peter went on to write 2 books of the Bible and probably a third. Most people give him credit for either writing or dictating the book of Mark. And when the Holy Spirit came down on Pentecost and they were filled with the ability to preach, Peter preached the first sermon with the Holy Spirit in it. The same guy that screwed all that stuff up. How many times do you think that someone came to Peter in his ministry and said, yeah, well, you're a super smart Pharisee guy. You were with Jesus. You know everything is good. And he goes, I'm a fisherman. I'm a fisherman who just got lucky enough to hang around with Jesus. Yeah, well, you don't know what it's like to turn your back on people and do stuff. I denied Jesus in the time when he needed me most, and he still loves me. Do you know how powerful those examples are? Because he had that junk. He was somebody that people could listen to and hear and get. And so I'm asking you, church, what's in your junk drawer? What do you have in there that you wish was gone? But if you think about it right now, the trials you've been through, the stupid mistakes you've made, the ignorant decisions, the hate you had because you didn't know any better, the things that were out of your control, that are just because this world isn't very fun sometimes, the things that you suffered through alone because no one was there for you or you were too stubborn to ask for help. How many of those things are there in your life that someone is sitting there right next to you? Somewhere at your work, out in your life, right in here that's going, Jesus isn't for me. You don't know what I'm like. And you can go, I do. I've been there. You've never been where I am. No, I have. I was addicted to drugs, and God still took me back. I was raised in a family filled with hate and racism, but He took me back when I figured out it was different than that. I struggled with so much stuff, but Jesus still loves me. I turned my back on my family, and He made it healed again. I was where you were, and I'm better now. Someone needs to hear that message. Now, I had another idea in high school. I know what you're thinking. There's no way it can be better than the PA with the car headset thing. But it's good. Are you ready for this? My idea was send a message to 20 million people to give me $1. Each one. Apparently you didn't catch this. This is a really good idea. Follow again. Slow it down this time. Send a message to 20 million people for each of them to give me $1. Okay? Are you seeing the genius in this? Because if I asked you on the way through, to the parking lot, you're going to go, oh, hey, can I have $1? I bet 90% of you are like, yeah, it's just $1 here. Because to most of us, $1 isn't much anymore. Okay? And you'd be like, yeah, fine. You wouldn't even ask me what to use it for. And all those people would be like, man, it's just $1. And they would give it to me. $20 million is a big deal to me. In fact, even if only 10% of them responded, which is how I figured this out, there's no way all 20 million would give me $1. If just 10% respond, that's $2 million for me. To them, it's $1. I probably lost $1 today and change somewhere. I left it in an Aldi shopping cart over the last 2 weeks. I'll give you $1. But to me, $2 million is life-changing. Now, why am I telling you this in the middle of I went serious and now I'm being silly again? Why? Why would you say this, Paul? Well, partly because if you can figure out how this works, I'll split it with you. But, in all seriousness, right now, Satan's doing some awesome work. Because he's weaving in and out of here and all over the place going, you're a nobody. What could you possibly have to share with somebody? There's no one that needs to know anything from you. Your stupid little circumstances that Pastor Paul's trying to make a big deal out of are that. They're stupid and it ruined your life and you should get rid of it. It'll never be any good. What difference could you possibly make? And some of us are going, yeah, you're right, because it's uncomfortable to talk to people about stuff that happened in your life that's no fun. It's difficult. It's hard to do. And so it's really easy to just hear that message and go, yeah, you're right, I don't want to do any of that. I'll give you some news here. There are 2.1 billion Christians on this earth. If just 10% of us took just one piece of junk and shared it with somebody and said, hey, I've been there, and Jesus made a difference in my life. 210 million souls could get to know the love and grace of Jesus Christ. That is an impact in our world, people. If just 10% of us would just say, I've been there, and Jesus made a difference to me. You see, when we can start looking at these problems the way our scripture looked at those problems, that they build endurance. And from that endurance, we build hope. What a difference we can make in this world. So for 2016, I'm telling you, throw the resolutions out. Maybe what we should do for 2016, church, is that we should go do an inventory of our junk drawers. That we should go back and look and see what's hiding in there, the things that we've done that we're ashamed of, the things that we wish weren't part of our life, and go, all right, God, you want something? It's your junk drawer. You've forgiven me. You've allowed me to feel cared for. You knew when you went to the cross who I would be, what I would be, stupid things I would do and carry around in this junk drawer, and you still love me. It's not fair, but I'm so thankful for it. Take my junk drawer, and when you're ready, you tell me what I need to use. And I will use it because we've probably already missed opportunities where someone was talking and you're like, oh my God, it's just like what I went through. Why are they doing this? That's stupid. And it should have been clicking, God going, that's why it happened to you. Because you can take this and change someone's life. Or it did happen to you because this world's a messed up place. Not because God wanted it to, not because we wanted it to, but it happened. Because stuff happens, it's not cool. But you suffered through it. Don't let someone else suffer through it alone. You can make all that difference to someone. So this year, how about you figure out who all of you is? Figure out all the stuff that makes you up. All the good things, the things that are amazing that we've come to know and love about each and every one of you. But also the junk in there that you wish wasn't, because darn it, it's part of you. It's who you are, and that makes you the only person that can do exactly what God needs you to do for that one person out there. Two people out there that need to know that you know what they're going through. And then maybe they can see all of what God is. Would you pray with me? God, what a joy it is to be with this group of people who are here figuring out where they are with you. Some who are deep down that path of a relationship with you, God, that gave their hearts to you a long time ago. And God, some who are like, I don't know about this Jesus. But they're here. There are so many stories, so many hurts, so many aching things, so many people who have fought in this difficult life, and they've come out on the side of knowing that you care about them. Doesn't make life any easier. Doesn't make the problems go away, God, but it does feel better to know that you're on our side, that you're with us. So God, lift up these hearts, these souls, and give them courage and strength in this new year to take the junk that is part of who they are and inventory it, know it, and be ready to use it for your glory, God. That you might take what Satan meant for bad and turn it into something amazing that will create more followers of you and more people to love and live. We thank you for this and we praise you for this. And all God's people said.